Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Jaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Dire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 31, Narad instructs the Prachetas, text number 20 onwards. Apahat sakleshnam malatman anvirat medhit bhavano pahuta nijajan vash gatsum mano ayam na sarati chidra vad akshara satam hi. Being completely cleansed of all material desires, the devotees are freed from all mental contamination. Thus, they can always think of the Lord constantly and address Him very feelingly. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, knowing Himself to be controlled by His devotees, does not leave them for a second, just as the sky overhead never becomes invisible. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, knowing Himself to be controlled by His devotees, does not leave them even for a second. Wow. It is clear from the previous verse that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardhan, is very quickly satisfied by the activities of its devotees. The pure devotee is always absorbed in the thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated, Shanvatam Sukatha Krishna, by always thinking of Krishna. The pure devotee's heart is freed from all kinds of desires. In the material world, the heart of the living entity is filled with many material desires. When the living entity is cleansed, he does not think of anything material. As the mind is completely cleansed, one attains the perfectional stage of mystic yoga. For then the yogi always sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart. Dhyana avasthita tadgatena manasa pashyanti yam yogina. As soon as the Lord is seated within the heart of the devotee cannot be contaminated by the material modes of nature. As long as one is under the control of the material modes, he desires so many things and makes so many plans for material sense enjoyment. But as soon as the Lord is perceived in the heart, all material desires vanish. When the mind is completely free from material desire, the devotee can think of the Lord constantly. In this way, he becomes completely dependent upon the lotus feet of Lord. So these material desires, desire to enjoy this, desire to control this, desire to own this, desire to have all the fame, be famous, be popular, be strong. These desires actually keep us away from surrendering to Krishna, from serving Krishna. And when all these desires are gone, only the desire to serve Him remains, then the Lord cannot stay away from that devotee. When the mind is completely free from material desires, the devotee can think of the Lord constantly. In this way, he becomes completely dependent upon the lotus feet of the Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prays, Sai Nanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Am Vishme Bhavam Bhato Kripya Tapad Pankaj Dhuli Sadrisham Vichintaya. My dear Lord, I am your eternal servant, but somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of this material world. Kindly pick me up and fix me as a speck of dust at your lotus feet. Similarly, Srila Narottam Das Thakur prays, My dear Lord, you are now present with the daughter of King Vrishmanu, Srimati Radharani. Now both of you, please be merciful upon me. Don't kick me away because I have no shelter other than you. So this is the mood of a devotee. They just pray to the Lord, please. I'm very fallen and you are very merciful. So please be merciful upon me. In this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes dependent on his devotees. The Lord is invincible, yet he is conquered by his pure devotee. He enjoys being dependent on his devotee, just as Krishna enjoyed being dependent on the mercy of Mother Yashoda. Thinking himself dependent on the devotee gives the Supreme Lord great enjoyment. Sometimes a king may engage a joker, and in the presence of joking, in the process of joking, the king is sometimes insulted. The king, however, enjoys these activities. Everyone worships the Supreme Lord with great reverence. Therefore, the Lord sometimes wants to enjoy the chastisement of his devotees. In this way, the relationship that eternally exists between the Lord and his devotees is fixed, just like the sky overhead. So in Vaikuntha, the Lord is worshipped with great awe and reverence. But in Vrindavan, Golok Vrindavan, he is not worshipped with reverence. Everybody deals with him in their own way, but not as if he's God. And this is what Krishna enjoys. He enjoys being dependent on the mercy of Mother Yashoda. Not just the mercy of Mother Yashoda, even the gopis. Sometimes he wants to have some freshly churned butter, and the gopis would tell him, and he would go ask them, okay, give me butter. And they would tell him, okay, you first dance, show us some dance, and then we'll give you butter. And then Krishna would dance over there, show them some moves. And then they would laugh, and then they get very happy with Krishna, and they give him some butter to eat. And we all know how he is a makhan chor. But everything belongs to him. Why he has to steal? Butter belongs to him, cows belong to him, gopis belong to him. So why he has to steal all this? There's only one thing that does not belong to him. Actually, it does, but that is our independence. That is our desire, our love for him. And to taste that love, to taste that mood, he devises different things, different activities, different pastimes. And every individual soul, we cannot even imagine how many souls are there, spirit souls, in the material world, and then in the spiritual world. We cannot even imagine. And every living entity or every individual soul has a unique relationship with Krishna. That's what keeps us apart from all others. We all have a unique way to please Krishna. It's just inconceivable. Okay, 5 major rasas are there and 7 secondary rasas are there. But now, even in that, he can make everything infinite. And his relationship with devotees is also unique. Every devotee is unique. Every person is unique. And this is what he wants to enjoy. And by not being serving him, not being, I won't say able to, but not being, by being so stubborn, not serving him, we are depriving him of this pleasure. And at the same time, we are depriving ourselves of that supreme pleasure that the soul is looking for. So all we have to do is get more and more purified. And then that relationship will not automatically, but on its own, it will come forth when the impurities are gone, the coverings of material desires are gone, then the relationship will shine forth. And that's what he's waiting for. This is what Prabhupada says, the Lord is invincible, means he cannot be conquered by anybody, but he's conquered by his pure devotee. No. Is that a contradiction? No. Because the Lord is absolute truth, the supreme absolute truth. So absolute truth means all the contradictions exist in him at the same time. Everything is there. He is unconquerable, yes. By all the demons, he is unconquerable, but the devotees conquer him. Love conquers him. And the supreme, most powerful devotee, Srimati Radharani, not just conquers him, controls him completely. That's the power of Srimati Radharani. Here Prabhupada talks about mercy of Mother Yashoda. Yashoda controls him. Yashoda Maya binds him. Yashoda Maya threatens him to beat off with a stick. And Krishna cries in front of Mother Yashoda. Can we imagine Krishna crying in front of a demon? No. He can just kill that demon within not even a second, less than a second. He can kill any big demon. But he is afraid of the stick in the hands of Mother Yashoda. And that's what gives him the supreme enjoyment. And this is what this relationship, Mayavadis or demons cannot understand. Those who don't have that feeling, understanding, or bhakti, they cannot understand. What kind of relationship is this? What kind of God is this? God means all powerful. Yeah, God means all powerful, but devotees are even more powerful than the Lord because their power comes from the Lord. It's inconceivable. And Lord, being Lord, he wants to enjoy the service of the devotees. He appears as if he has no hands, no legs, as Lord Jagannath. Now he says, now you have to do everything for me. I cannot even move. I cannot walk. I cannot do anything. You have to do everything for me. And the devotees do it with so much pleasure, so much pleasure. And the Lord enjoys. When he goes on Rath Yatra, chariot, he sits on the chariot, and we have seen him like that. I mean, Radha Prabhu, Abhishek Prabhu, and myself, we had the fortune of being on the chariot when the Lord came on the chariot, and devotees, pandas, were pulling him with ropes, and he enjoyed it. And then they put him on the chariot, and they tie him up with the rope, with the post of the chariot, so he doesn't fall off, and he enjoys it. Earlier days, we were allowed to go on the chariot when the chariot would stop in front of Gundicha temple, and we can go and hug him and serve him and massage him, and all his paint would come off because it would be so humid, and lakhs of devotees coming on the chariot with all the sweat, and they would hug him, and all his face will be discolored. But he enjoyed it. I hope he enjoyed it. I don't know why he stopped it. what he does. And those who are not devotees, they cannot understand this. They will not be able to understand this. Na bhajati ku manishinam sejyam hareradhanatman atma dhan priyo rasagya shrut dhan kul karmanam madarye vidhati papam akinchaneshu satsu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes very dear to those devotees who have no material possessions, but are fully happy in possessing the devotional service of the Lord. Indeed, the Lord relishes the devotional activities of such devotees. Those who are puffed up with material education, wealth, aristocracy, and fruitive activity are very proud of possessing material things, and they often deride the devotees. Even if such people offer the Lord worship, the Lord never accepts them. So it's not that material education, wealth, aristocracy, fruitive activities are wrong. It's just being attached to those material things and being getting puffed up by having those material things. We often deride the devotees, and that's where the problem is. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is dependent on his pure devotees. He does not even accept the offerings of those who are not devotees. A pure devotee is one who feels he does not possess anything material. A devotee is always happy in possessing the devotional service of the Lord. Devotees may sometimes appear materially poor, but because they are spiritually advanced and enriched, they are most dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such devotees are free from attachment to family, society, friendship, children, and so on. They abandon affection for all these material possessions and are always happy in possessing the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. The Supreme Personality of Godhead understands the position of his devotees. If a person derides a pure devotee, he is never recognized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, the Supreme Lord never excuses one who offends a pure devotee. There are many examples of this in history. A great mystic yogi, Durvasa Muni, offended the great devotee Ambarish Maharaj. The great sage Durvasa was to be chastised by the Sudarshan Chakra of the Lord. Even though the great mystic directly approached the Supreme Personality of God, and he was never excused. Those on the path of liberation should be very careful not to offend a pure devotee. And this is what Daksha had done against Lord Shiva. Although Lord Shiva, after hearing his prayers, he forgave him, but still he had to undergo purification. So he is born again as a son of Prachetas. So pure devotee, first of all, it's very hard to recognize a pure devotee. It's not that every poor person is a pure devotee or every poor devotee is a pure devotee. There's no such condition. It's very, very hard to recognize. So we just got to be careful in dealing with devotees. We should not try to offend them. Don't even think of offending them. No matter who it is, because we don't know who that person is. So humility and tolerance goes way, way far and takes us further on the path of devotion service. Shriyam anucharatim tadarthi nascha dvipat patin vibudhansha yatsva puranaha na bhajati nichbhrati varga tantra katham amam udva srijet pumana kritigyaha. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is self-sufficient, he becomes dependent on his devotees. He does not care for the goddess of fortune, nor for the kings of demigods who are after the favors of the goddess of fortune. Where is that person who is actually grateful and will not worship the personality of Godhead? Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is worshipped by all materialistic men, including big kings and demigods in heaven. Lakshmi, however, is always after the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though he does not require a service. Brahma Samhita says that the Lord is worshipped by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. But the Supreme Lord does not require service from any of them, because if he so desires, he can produce millions of goddesses of fortune through his spiritual energy, the pleasure potency. So all the Lakshmis are actually expansions of Srimati Radharani. So Krishna personally doesn't require the services of Lakshmi Devi, but he allows them to serve him because of their request for the service and him being pleased with her. This very personality of Godhead, out of his causeless mercy, becomes dependent on the devotees. How fortunate then is a devotee who is thus favored by the personality of Godhead? What ungrateful devotee will not worship the Lord and enter into his devotion service? Actually, a devotee cannot forget his obligation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even for a single moment. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that both the Supreme Lord and his devotee are rasagya, full of transcendental humor or transcendental relationship. The mutual attachment between the Supreme Lord and his devotee is never to be considered material. It always exists as a transcendental fact. There are 8 types of transcendental ecstasy known as bhav, anubhav, sthai bhav, and so on. And these are discussed in the Nectar of Devotion. Those who are unaware of the position of the living entity and the Supreme Person, Krishna, think that the mutual attachment between the Lord and his devotees is a creation of material energy. Factually, such attachment is natural, both for the Supreme Lord and for the devotee, and it cannot be accepted as material. So out of his causeless mercy, the Lord becomes dependent on devotees, although thousands and millions of Lakshmis are ready to serve him. But he becomes dependent on his devotees because he loves his devotees. So whatever service the Lord has given us by his causeless mercy or by mercy of Prabhupada, because Lord loves his pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada. So because of Prabhupada, because of us being part, very insignificant part of the movement of Srila Prabhupada, the Lord has given us, engaged us some service or the other. So we should be very grateful to that service. We should be obligated to the Lord for that service. Whatever service. If he has given us a service for distributing books or whatever, chanting or reading or preaching, cooking for him, cleaning him, dressing him, whatever service, we should be grateful to him. Otherwise, he doesn't require our service. What position we have, what devotion we have, nothing. But him being pleased with Srila Prabhupada, he has engaged us in his service. So with that mood, not thinking that I'm somebody big, that's why I'm being able to serve the Lord. Or the Lord is dependent upon me. He doesn't even require services of Lakshmi ji. So how can he be dependent upon us? So it's just his causeless mercy and the causeless mercy of Srila Prabhupada that is allowing us. He doesn't need us, he doesn't require us. He's letting us do the service. So with that humble state of mind, feeling being grateful to Krishna, grateful to Prabhupada, we should render our services properly. And then slowly and slowly we will make progress. That's why knowledge is very, very important. Text 23. Maitre vacha iti prachetaso rajan anyascha bhagavad katha shravetva brahmalokam yayo swayam bhuvo munihi. The great sage Maitreya continued, my dear King Vidura, Sri Narad Muni, the son of Lord Brahma, thus described all these relationships with the Supreme Personality of Godhead to the Prachetas. Afterwards, he returned to Brahmaloka. So earlier he went back to Siddhaloka when he spoke with King Prachin Barishat, but now he went to Brahmaloka. One has to hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead from a pure devotee. The Prachetas got this opportunity from the great sage Narad, who told them of the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees. Te apitan mukh niryatam yasho lokamalapaham harer nishamya tatpadam dhyayantas tad gatim yayuhu. Hearing from Narad's mouth the glories of the Lord which vanquish all the ill fortune of the world, the Prachetas also became attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Meditating on his lotus feet, they advanced to the ultimate destination. Here it is seen that by hearing the glories of the Lord from a realized devotee, the Prachetas easily attained strong attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then meditating on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, at the end of their lives, they advance to the ultimate goal, Vishnu Loka. It is sure that and certain that anyone who always hears the glories of the Lord and thinks of his lotus feet will reach that supreme destination. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, always think of me and become my devotee. Worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. So Prachetas also reached Vishnu Loka, final destination. Etate avihitam kshattar yanmam tvam pariprishtavam prachetasam naradasya samvadam harikirtanam. My dear Vidura, I have told you everything you wanted to know about the conversation between Narad and the Prachetas, the conversation describing the glories of the Lord. I have related this as far as possible. Srimad Bhagavatam describes the glories of the Lord and his devotees. Because the whole subject matter is a glorification of the Lord, naturally the glorification of his devotees automatically follows. So this is what Bhagavatam is. Shri Shukavacha. Now coming back to Shukdev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj and the whole assembly in where everybody is sitting. Even Narad Muni is sitting with Vyasa at Shukratan. It's funny, Shukdev Goswami is describing the conversation between Narad Muni and Prachetas to Narad Muni and Vedvyas and Parikshit Maharaj and everybody else. Yaeshuttanapada manvasyanuvarnitaha vansha priyavratasyapi nibodh nirpa sattama. Shukdev Goswami continued, O best of kings, King Parikshit, I have now finished telling about the descendants of the first son of Swayambhuva Manu, Uttanpad. I shall now try to relate the activities of the descendants of Priyavrat, the second son of Swayambhuva Manu. Please hear them attentively. So if you now, we have to rewind, we have to go back. So Swayambhuva Manu had two sons, right? Uttanpad and Priyavrat, and three daughters, Dehuti, Prasuti, and Akuti. Yeah. So he he talked about Uttanpad's son, Dhruv Maharaj, and later on the descendants of Dhruv Maharaj. And now he stops here about Prachetas. Now he will describe about Priyavrat. Dhruv Maharaj was the son of King Uttanpad, and as far as the descendants of Dhruv Maharaj or King Uttanpad are concerned, their activities have been described up to the point of the Prachetas. Now Shri Shukdev Goswami desires to describe the descendants of Maharaj Priyavrat, the second son of Swayambhuva Manu. Yo Naradadatma Vidyam Adigamya Punarmahim Bhaktva Vibhajya Putrebhya Ashwaram Samgat Padam. Although Maharaj Priyavrat received instructions from the great sage Narad, he is still engaged in ruling the earth. After fully enjoying material possessions, he divided his property among his sons. He then attained a position by which he could return home back to Godhead. So you see, Maharaj Priyavrat now, again, wonderful king, ruled the earth, but towards the end, he would divide his property among his sons and then go for austerities and return home back to Godhead. Not getting so much attached to the property, to the sons, to the family, to the grandsons, and so on and so forth. No such attachment. Imam tu koshar vinopavarnitam kshatta nishamya jitvad satkatham pravriddha bhavo ashru kalakulo muner dadhar murdana charanam hrita hare. My dear king, in this way, after hearing the transcendental messages of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees from the great sage Maitreya, Vidura was overwhelmed with ecstasy. With tears in his eyes, he immediately fell down at the lotus feet of his Guru, his spiritual master. He then fixed the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the core of his heart. This is the sign of associating with great devotees. A devotee takes instructions from a liberated soul and is thus overwhelmed by ecstasy from transcendental pleasure. As stated by Prahlad Maharaj, one cannot become a perfect devotee of the Lord without having touched the lotus feet of a great devotee. One who has nothing to do with this material world is called Nishkinchan. The process of self-realization and the path home back to Godhead means surrendering to the bona fide spiritual master and taking the dust of his lotus feet on one's head. Thus one advances on the path of transcendental realization. Vidura had this relationship with Maitreya and he attained the results. So touching the lotus feet of a great devotee and taking the dust of his lotus feet on one's head, it can mean literally, and it can also mean to take the instructions of a great devotee and making it the life and soul of our life. Viduruvacha. So ayam adya mahayogin bhavata karunatmana darshitas tamasah paro yatra kinchanago harihi. Shri Vidura said, O great mystic, O greatest of all devotees, by your causeless mercy I have been shown the path of liberation from this world of darkness. By following this path, a person liberated from the material world can return home back to Godhead. This material world is called Tamah, dark, and the spiritual world is called light. The Vedas enjoin that everyone should try to get out of the darkness and go to the kingdom of light. So Tamsoma Jyotirgamaya. Information of that kingdom of light can be attained through the mercy of a self-realized soul. One also has to get rid of all material desires. As soon as one frees himself from material desires and associates with the liberated person, the path back home, back to Godhead is clear. So that's the only way to make progress, to associate a self-realized soul, to serve him, to ask him questions, and he can impart the knowledge so that the ignorance is gone. Text 30. Shri Shukavacha iti anamya tama mantra viduro gajasavayam Svanam didrikshu prayayo gyati-nam nirvitashaya. Shukdev Goswami continued. Vidura thus offered obeisances unto the great sage Maitreya, and taking his permission, started for the city of Hastinapur to see his own kinsmen, although he had no material desires. So at this time, he goes back to Hastinapur, chastises Dhritarashtra, and takes him out of the clutches of Maya, sends him to the forest for austerities, and then he again proceeds further. When a saintly person wants to see his kinsmen, he has no material desire to see them. He simply wants to give them some instructions so they can benefit. Vidura belonged to the royal family of the Kauravas, and although he knew that all the family members were destroyed at the battle of Kurukshetra, he nonetheless wanted to see his elder brother Dhritarashtra, to see if he could deliver Dhritarashtra from the clutches of Maya. When a great saintly person like Vidura sees his relatives, he desires only to deliver them from the clutches of Maya. Vidura thus offered his respectful obeisances to his spiritual master and departed for the city of Hastinapur, the kingdom of the Kauravas. So somebody can ask why Vidura didn't stop and listen to more Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
What about the somebody got what about the story of Maharaj Priyavrat? What about other? But he remembered his duty. He had to perform his duty to get Dhritarashtra out of the clutches of Maya. Although Dhritarashtra didn't stop Duryodhana when Duryodhana was insulting Vidura, and Vidura left Hastinapur. But still, he thought it's my duty to save my elder brother. Etadya shunu yadrajan ragyam haryar pitatmanam ayur dhanam sheshah swasti gatim ashwaryam apnuyat. O king, those who hear these topics about kings who are completely surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead obtain without difficulty a long life, wealth, good reputation, good fortune, and ultimately the opportunity to return home back to Godhead. So Shrutifal is there after all these wonderful stories. And they are wonderful Shrutifals that without difficulty, just hearing, those who hear these topics, they just obtain what? Long life, wealth, good reputation, good fortune. But the only thing is, as long as we don't get attached to them, we ultimately get the opportunity to return home back to Godhead. So Srimad Bhagavatam, we have to hear again and again with more and more faith, more devotion, more attention, and it will deliver everything. That's the beauty of Srimad Bhagavatam. Anybody who speaks, anybody who hears, they all get benefited. And this is all we have to do, just sit down and listen, that's all. So thus ends the fourth canto by Prabhupada's mercy. So now we have two options. Either we can start the fifth canto or stop here and ask for any questions or comments.
Haribo.
Haribo.
I think we can continue.
We can continue or wait for questions, comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, brother.
Prabhuji, I have a question not related to what you have told today, but just something was coming to my mind, so I thought let's clarify before you proceed ahead. Prabhuji, in fact, in all these verses, last couple of pages, we have learned about people returning back to Godhead, and then people also falling down as well. And that is when, in fact, all this material condition starts. So, and then there is this annihilation as well, and then Brahmaji creates the entire universe all over again. So I was wondering, Prabhuji, if people are falling down constantly, and then these Prajapatis are creating. So in
Mhm.
between, is there a time lag? And if that happens, where do these kind of souls, do they reside within Mahavishnu, or how it happens? Because we have heard about these Prajapatis creating, which means they are creating. So if they are creating, so that means the soul has to go there, and that soul would have fallen from the spiritual world. And so how does that relate to Prabhuji? One is Mahavishnu he kind of holds all the souls within him, and then kind of give to these bodies which are created by the Prajapatis. How does it happen, Prabhuji?
At the time of creation, all the souls come out from the body of Mahavishnu. And then during the dissolution, during the day of Brahma, like at the end of the day of Brahmaji, there is, I'm gonna mute you all because there's so much of disturbance. So during the day of Brahmaji, when there is dissolution, then all the souls go into the body of Garbhodaksha Vishnu. He is lying there. He's there. And like this Prajapati Daksha, so from Swambhuva Manu's time period to Chakshusha Manu, 6th Manu's time period, he had performed austerities. I don't know where he did. It's not mentioned in Bhagavatam, but he performed austerities so that he can be purified again and again, take birth. But there are many instances like during Bhagwan Ram's pastimes, there was a gorilla in Hanumanji's army, and somehow he had developed animosity towards Lakshmanji. Somehow. So he appeared again during Krishna's pastime, and that was Dvivid gorilla, and he was killed by Balramji. So Balramji is Lakshman, and he took care of that thing there. So between Ram's pastime and Krishna's pastime, there was a long time. And it's not mentioned where did he go. Did he just merge in the body of Garbhodaksha Vishnu and came back again during Krishna's pastimes? Or he did some austerities? I don't know.
Prabhuji, what I want to know is, Prabhuji, these Prajapatis, what are they creating? When we say Prajapatis, they create the population. So the soul has already come in. So what are these Prajapatis creating?
Bodies.
So
different species of life.
And then the soul comes out of Garbhodaksha Vishnu and enters them.
Yes.
So Prabhuji, all these Prajapatis, in fact, as of now as well, are the Prajapatis still creating in somewhere they're creating, or in fact, once they've created, now it's the kind of species that they keep on creating them?
Well, it's a hard question. I don't know. Because 8,400,000 species are already there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what their role is right now.
Anyways, thank you, Prabhuji.
I have to find out. I have to read about it.
And Prabhuji, the other day you also mentioned about Tulsi ji not coming in the 884 lakh yonis. So which means, so how do these then get created, Prabhuji? So are these not part of those souls, or these are different tattvas altogether?
Yeah, they just come straight from the spiritual world.
They're not Jeev tattvas either, is it, Prabhuji, Tulsi Maharani?
No.
तो प्रभु जी हम लोग जब सेवा करते हैं कई बारी we kind of put in water, khad and all those stuff and kind of start thinking कि यार सूख ना जाए and all those stuff. So is that kind of, because we think on
That is our service. That is our service. So we do that.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Similarly, not just tulsi, amla and banyan tree also.
Yes, Prabhuji had mentioned the other day.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna, please accept mine.
Prabhuji, in the beginning you mentioned about this rasas, 5 rasas. So I wanted to exactly know, because I get confused here that Lord Krishna mentioned about these rasas and all, but here we are practicing only the as a dasa bhava, like dasya. The other 4 rasas, who follows? Is these rasas are for the spiritual world or for the like how to understand? I mean, on this.
We are not even following Dasarasa properly.
Yes, right.
See, they Dasiras, Dasir, then Shan Dasya, then Sakya and Vatsalya and Madhurya. They start, even Dasira starts at the point of no material desires. That's what Nectar of Devotion says. None. That's the beginning of Dasirasa. Do we have that? No material, absolutely no material desires. We are just trying to serve the Lord right now. We're not even serving Him properly. We're just trying. Or even Shantrasa. I'm sorry
Yes.
to say, Shantrasa also. No material desires. So yes, they can only happen in the spiritual world. Right now, we just theoretically know about them. That's all.
Yes, Prabhuji. Actually, all I wanted to know that in our parampara or tradition, we have been taught only this dasya rasa, right?
No. We've been taught this because of our situation, that we are not advanced enough. Otherwise, Goswami literature, and even in Prabhupada literature, Prabhupada's books, if we read closely, especially Nectar of Devotion, we'll read about them in detail. And Goswami literatures, they consider them in very detail. So, just to give an example, although there is no realization, none whatsoever of mine, all the acharyas in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, all the acharyas, starting from Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, all the 6 Goswamis, Narottam Das Thakur, Baldev Vidyabhushan, everybody, even Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Gaur Kishore Das Swamiji Maharaj, Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. Prabhupada we don't know yet because he never revealed it. But all these acharyas are manjaris. They have revealed, or facts about them have been revealed by other acharyas of their manjari rupa in Krishna Leela. So from that we can just infer. I mean, this is like if A equal to B, B equal to C, then A is equal to C, that kind of equation. We can just deduce from that we all must be having that manjari bhav. That's all. It's just theoretical understanding. There's no realization. Because we come in that parampara. We are connected in that parampara.
Right. So basically, to understand about this rasa, better not to even think about all the other rasas, like.
Beta, right now we don't think of any rasa, just think of chanting and getting purified. See, artificially we cannot make up anything. It'll be bad for our spiritual growth. So don't think of anything. Just try to serve. Just try. And serving is also just let's try to chant properly first of all.
Yes, true, Prabhuji. Actually, just for the understanding only, I asked because I didn't understand. I mean, about mentioning about all the rasas, then how to literally execute. I mean, what was the purpose of mentioning about the rasas? How to execute them in the material life or with this materialistic thought processes?
It's just to give us some insight into spiritual world. And at the same time, like Prabhupada has mentioned, let us purify ourselves and these rasas will come forth. Whatever is hidden, it will come forth slowly, slowly.
Yes.
Just like I had given this example once, that Shashwati Mataji is her daughter, a little girl. If somebody tells her, oh, you're going to be a big surgeon. But that doesn't mean we're going to give her a knife right now and she'll start performing surgery. She still has to go through school, entrance exam, medical college, all the exams, training, this, that, so many years, and then she can become a surgeon. So even if somebody tells me you are this and that in the spiritual world, well, doesn't mean anything right now. I'm not even qualified. I have to go through my own studies and training and everything, right?
Yes, it is clear now, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, so I guess we can stop here and tomorrow we will start the 5th canto. Hari Bol. Nice way to start New Year.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Hello.
Hari
Hari
Bol.
Bol.
Jai
You all
Prabhupada.
have a wonderful and safe day. Hare Krishna.
You
Jai
too.
Shri
Thank you, Prabhuji. Happy New Year.
Krishna. Happy New Year. Happy